settling and releasing, and then we'll, yeah, sort of take it from there. So let's settle down. Yeah, settling down with, which you could start, if you're more comfortable with your legs long, you could start with your legs long. Let's just do a little bit of arriving. And so maybe a few, 2 or 3 big sighing breaths, if anything like me and you've had a busy day. So couple of 2 or 3 big sighing breaths, just letting the weight of your body settle onto the ground. So that feeling of arriving, stopping, settling. And it might be helpful to bring your hands onto the front of your body and then just feel the movement of your breath in your body for 3 or so cycles of breath. So if your hands are resting on the front of your body, you can start to connect with that feeling of the movement of the breath in your body, or how your body responds to the movement of the breathing. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then you can take your attention to your head. Just have a moment to feel the weight of your head on the floor. Notice how your neck feels. And then start to let your head roll a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. And keep it easy, keep it comfortable. Just this very easy movement of the head rolling from side to side. And from letting your head roll from side to side a couple more times. And coming to settle so the center of the back of your head is resting on the floor in a comfortable place. And then if your legs are long, I'd like you to bend your knees now. And Ruth, I just, go a little bit easy with this. It might be helpful, but you might need to do less than you normally do. So yes, bending your knees when you're ready, standing your feet on the floor, taking a moment to feel your footprints on the floor, and then starting to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. Just seeing how this feels today, right now. And Ruth, if it doesn't feel good, I can see your knees moving a little bit, so that's good. If it doesn't feel good, then don't do it. Just pause in the center. But a very small movement might help to just sort of ease around the coccyx. That's nice. Good. That's it. A few more times to the right and to the left. And then from there, you're going to settle in the center. And we're going to do one of those rocking movements for the upper back. So you could keep your knees bent, or you could lengthen your legs out on the floor. The one we're going to do is not actually that one, Rosie. It's the one where we make our arms into a beach ball. So you're making a big sort of O shape. Let's make them into a beach ball. You're making a big O shape with your arms, interlinking your fingers over your chest, like you're holding a beach ball on your chest. And then you're going to rock across your upper back. So you're rocking towards the back of the right shoulder, the back of the left shoulder, keeping your circle circular, letting your head go with your arms, trying to keep the legs quiet, Jan, that's it. If your knees are bent, you have to maybe be a bit more focused and yes, not letting the knees and the pelvis come along. That's it, good. And keep it comfortable. So a few more times rocking from side to side across the upper back. And just using this movement to, little by little, release some tightness or tension. And then whenever you want to let that go, you can unlink your fingers, you can bring your arms to rest on the floor beside you. You can let a breath come in, you can let a breath leave you. And then when you're ready, come back to bending your knees once more, standing your feet on the floor. Come back again to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And just see how that movement feels. Good. And again, do whatever feels right for your body right now. It could be a very small movement, it could be a larger movement. So a couple more times to the right and to the left. And then we're going to do another of our rocking movements for our upper back. This time, so again, if you wanted to lengthen your legs out, you can do. And then this time we're going to take our arms up and make a triangle shape with them. So touching the palms together. Yeah, so touch the palms together and straighten the elbows, actually, Maria, that's it. So the elbows are straight, the hands are stuck together. We keep the hands stuck together, we keep the elbows straight. You can start to rock your arms to the right and to the left. Now, it's very much up to you. I find these movements just very helpful like this. If you feel that you want a bit of variety, you could always try in this one, taking your head and your arms in opposite directions. You probably have to go do a bit less if you're doing that, but you actually might feel quite a lot going on. So the head and the arms moving in opposite directions is a possibility. And then from there, you can go back to the head and arms going in the same direction, and it might all feel a little bit easier. And as you're doing all of these, just keep the chest soft, keep the jaw relaxed. That's nice, lovely. Rocking a little bit to the right and to the left. Fantastic. And then again, whenever you want to let it go, bring your arms down to rest on the floor. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And when you're ready, you're going to bend your knees. Come back a few times to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. Are you all right, Jan? Yes, letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. Jan, did you want to ask something, Jan?
Press. No, I'm sorry, I wasn't unmuted. I thought I could hear a man's voice on the phone.
Oh, it could be, yes, it could be Cam. I'll just go say that if you can hear him, I'll ask him to go somewhere else.
No, it wasn't intrusive. I just thought perhaps it was me.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, no,
yeah, it's fine. No, don't worry. I'll go sort it out. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, what I'd like you to do now is pause in the center for a moment. Keep your knees bent. Give yourself a hug now. So you're crossing your arms over your chest. Oh, not with your knees folded in, Emma. Yes, the other hug. And now come to the rocking where you're letting your elbows and your knees and your head all go in one direction and then the other. That's it. So you're rocking side to side across the back of your body. And Ruth, obviously you may need to keep this smaller than usual. That's it. So let the elbows, and you can let the knees rock as well now, Emma, if you like. So let the knees go in the same direction as the elbows. That's it. So it's a bigger movement. So you're rocking side to side across the back of your body. Very nice. So you can do that once, twice, or so, more to each side, 3 times if you like. And you're going to come back to the center. When you come back to the center, you can uncross your arms, and then you can fold your knees into your chest. So you can now give yourself a hug this way, Emma, holding around your knees or around the back of your knees. Do a little bit of rocking from side to side. Very nice. Nice to see your toes now, Sam. And then from there, you can also take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a little bit of a shake out. Lovely. So we're going to be, so from here, you can contemplate the fact that we're going to be coming over into a little bit of sitting. So Ruth, this would be a little bit of a test. We were going to sit in cobbler pose and move into pinwheel. Now, pinwheel might be okay. But if cobbler pose, now poor Ruth had a accident. So Ruth, if cobbler pose isn't any good, come and sit in kneeling, okay? And just, if you need to speak, just press your bar. So yeah, so sitting, if you can sit in cobbler pose, sit in cobbler pose, otherwise sit in kneeling. And I thought we'd just do a little bit quite briefly around hips, and I want to do a little bit of sitting and breathing. So the first thing would be to come into cobbler pose, lean back onto your hands and just see how it feels. And we'll stay a little bit longer in cobbler pose in a moment, but from here, come on into pinwheel. So I hope this doesn't get too boring doing pinwheel a lot, but I just find this so useful, and I do it every day really in my practice. So we'll do a little bit of circling. You could do the circling like this, if this is helpful for the head and neck and the shoulders. Now, Ruth, the circling may be challenging. So it might be that you okay? Good. Okay, so if you can do the circling, that's great. And you can do the circling, giving yourself a hug, or with your arms just loose. And then what we'll do from here is as we usually do, we'll come into the pinwheel forward bend. So you'll turn to face your thigh, the knee that's going out to the side, and you're going to fold over that leg and have a few breaths there. And just letting yourself be sort of heavy and settled, and yes, really giving your weight down to the floor. Letting your breath come in, letting your breath leave you. And from there, then walk your hands back in towards you. You're going to let your leg slide on top. So we come back into the side sitting. Ruth, if you're in kneeling, then I'll give you slightly different things. So actually, Ruth, you probably, if you are in cobbler pose, you're not going to want to do this first thing, okay? So what I'd like the rest of you to do, so Ruth, do this. The rest of you can do a bit of rocking. Ruth, in kneeling, because I think you're in kneeling, aren't you? You can do these kneeling twists, yeah? That's it, good. So yes, those of you who are in cobbler pose, a little bit of your favourite rocking from side to side. And then Ruth, you can also do this one in kneeling. We can do this leaning, so we come into a little side lengthening movement here. So Ruth, you could also do this in kneeling. Yes, that's it, good. And just a couple of times to each side. Very nice. Okay. And then let's bring this knee. So we're going on to side 2 of pinwheel. That's it, let your top leg come over, slide that leg back. Come back to a little bit of circling. And again, Ruth, it might feel different one side to the other, so just be aware of that. And again, if you like to do this, giving yourself a hug, then that's a really good option. We're just thinking about circling, settling, undoing into the hip joints around the pelvis a little bit. And again, whenever you're ready, so again, Ruth, particularly for you, if coming forwards is easier, then you can obviously come into your forward bend. So folding forwards over that thigh where the knee's going out to the side, having a few breaths. Good. Let yourself have another breath or two there. And then this time when you walk back in, sitting upright, we're going to lean back on our hands. We're going to take our legs long and wide. So Ruth, you might want to find a way to lengthen your legs out, which could be even coming into, yeah, you might just want to come onto hands and knees, Ruth, straighten your legs out. Sitting's not good. So just come and sit for just maybe a few breaths with your legs long and wide. You can lean back on your hands as much as you like. We're going to find a comfortable sitting position because I'd like us to come and do a little bit of kapala bhati breathing, which we did last week. So I thought we'd come back to it again this evening. So you could sit cross-legged on a cushion, you could have your back to the wall, you could be kneeling. So I'm just going to grab a cushion that's hiding behind, not that one, hiding behind my laptop. So let's sit however is comfortable. I'll just tilt this down a little bit. So yes, we're going to come back to our kapala bhati breathing. Yes, we have hands on our stomachs. It might have had dinner, hopefully not too much already. So let's just start off with the blowing out through the mouth, trying to feel the belly move back. We'll do it through the mouth first of all. I think all of you are pretty familiar with this. So then let's try doing it through the nose a few times. So blowing out through the nose, feeling the belly move back. And then what I would like us to do is 3 cycles where we have 5 breaths in each cycle. The 5th one is a long one. So I think we did the same as this last week, but perhaps in different positions in standing. So let's just see how that feels. So remember, kapala bhati breath is shining skull. So it's good for waking us up at the end of the day. Not too much so that we don't sleep though. So hand on your belly, let a breath come in. So what I didn't say is that we're doing 4 little breaths and then the 5th one's a long one. We don't breathe in. If we let the belly relax between each little breath, the breath will come in automatically. Or it's fine, if we're not sure if that's happening, it's that we're not doing very many. So let's try another 5. Let's let a breath come in. Good. Have a couple of normal breaths and then we'll do the final 5. And this before we come out of sitting, maybe then rest your hands on your thighs and just let yourself have perhaps 3 quiet cycles of breath, just feeling the movement of the breath through your body. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you in its own way. So in Kapalabhati, we're actively doing something to change the natural rhythm of our breathing. And now we're just feeling that natural flow of our breath. So one more cycle of breath, feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leave you. And we're going to come back towards the end of the class to do a bit more sitting and breathing, but I'd like to come on to hands and knees now. And we're going to see in hands and knees how our Kapalabhati breathing feels here. So once you're settled on hands and knees, let me just readjust my my screen a little bit. So once you're settled on hands and knees, you're going to do your 4 cycles of kapala bhati breath there and see how it feels. See, and that last 5th one is a long one. So on hands and knees, letting a breath come in. Can you feel your belly moving back? So away from the ground. And you might, as you do those short little breaths, feel that the lower back lengthens out a little bit. And when you've done your kapala bhati breaths, you're then going to move on into cat pose. So when you round your back to the ceiling, it's almost like a continuation of that, what kapala bhati does to you just through the action of the breath. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor. Just a few cycles of cat, seeing how it feels today, this point of the day, this point of the evening. How does it feel when you round your back to the ceiling? How does it feel when you dip your spine to the floor? And notice what your breathing is doing. When are you breathing in? And when are you breathing out? So you don't need to change it at all, but just notice what your breathing is doing. And then drop down onto your forearms and carry on with a few more cycles of cat. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor, noticing when you're breathing in, noticing when you're breathing out. And then coming back onto hands and knees. And try another 5 little kapala bhati breaths here. So again, 4 short, sharp ones, the 5th one's a long one. Let your breath come in. And then come to some tail wagging movements and just see how they feel this evening. So imagining you've got a tail and that you're wagging or swishing that tail from side to side. If you like to add in your lower legs, swinging the lower legs from side to side, you can do it quickly or you can do it more slowly. And if you're doing it more slowly, you can look down the side of your body towards your feet. And then again, drop down onto your forearms and do a few more tail wagging movements here. It might not be so comfortable to move your head here, possibly for your neck. So you might just want to move your pelvis. Imagine you've got that tail that you're wagging or swishing. And you could also swing your lower legs from side to side in the little fishes movement. Whatever feels comfortable. And then from there, we're going to come back onto hands and knees and we're going to move into dog pose. So we're going to do a couple of dog poses. So just see how the first dog pose feels and then we'll come into another one. So tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back over your heels, coming up into dog and just, yes, how does it all feel? So Ruth particularly, yeah, how does it feel around, you know, around your coccyx, around the back of your pelvis? And if you come up into dog and you think, oh, it doesn't feel, I'm not that happy, you don't need to stay there. Yes, bending one knee, bending the other. Just noticing how do the back of your legs feel? How does your upper spine between your shoulder blades feel? And whenever you want to, you can come back down. You could have a breath or two in child, or you could sit in kneeling and give your hands a little shake out. So we're going to come back into dog pose and you're going to try and just see how it feels to do your 5 kapala bhati breaths in dog. When I was doing this earlier, I got this really lovely clunk in my upper back on the 5th one. So I can't promise that will happen, but yeah, because I wasn't really that sure about it until that point. I was thinking, is this helpful? And then my back clunked. So in a nice way. So from hands and knees again, when you're ready, big, big handprints on the floor, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back over your heels, picking your knees up off the floor. And then give yourself a breath or two to settle in dog, sorry. And you could be staying. So I think when you come to your kapala bhati breathing, you want to just either have both knees bent or both knees straighter. Just a little bit quiet, letting a breath come in. And just see how it feels to do those kapala bhati breaths. And it might feel a bit strange, you might not like it at all, or you might find it helpful. Good. Very nice. And when you come down from this dog pose, now Ruth, you might just want to be a little bit careful with this. We're going to come on into a lunge. So you're going to bring one foot forwards. Have your foot in between your hands now. Ruth, I think just don't push it in your lunge. It may feel absolutely fine. I think anyone should be pushing it in their lunge. And yes, have a few breaths here. And it's up to you. I was going to get us to ease out. So the easing out is when we untuck our back toe and we rock back like this, and our chest is close to our thigh. But you could ease in and out a little bit if you like that one. So if it's helpful for you, for your body right now, to do a little bit of moving forwards and back, then that's absolutely a good idea. Or equally, if it's helpful just to stay in your lunge and breathe and give the weight of your pelvis down. Let the shoulders settle. We'll have another couple of breaths on this side. So you could be staying in lunge, you could be folded back. And then whenever you're ready to swap sides, before you swap sides, ease back. Untuck your back toes, keep your chest close to your thigh. That's it, ease back a little bit. And then swap sides on hands and knees, bring the other foot forwards. And then of course, walk your back leg away, your toes can be tucked under or flat. And see how it feels inside two of lunge. And again, it's completely up to you whether you stay in lunge or whether you untuck your toes and you do a bit of easing in and out of lunge. So, as I probably say many, many times, the most important thing is to try and trust the intelligence of your body and follow what your body wants. Rather than feeling that there's something you should be doing. So we'll just have another couple of breaths, either in your lunge or rocking in and out of it. Trying to let the shoulders soften as much as possible. And then whenever you're ready, untucking those back toes, walk your hands in a bit. You can ease backwards, look back towards your back foot. Very nice. So we're going to do a little sequence, and we're going to do this sequence 2 times. So I just have to remember, as I was working this out, yes, exactly what we're doing. So our starting point, you'll be thrilled to hear, is coming into plank pose. So you need to come towards the front of your mat. And settle your hands down beneath your shoulders. So from here, we're going to be lengthening one leg back and then adding the other in and coming into our plank pose and just seeing how does it feel to stay in this long line of plank. Trying to feel that the shoulders, the pelvis and the heels are all in a long line. And then from plank, you're going to be rocking your hips up and back into dog. And it might be a long dog, so you might need to walk your feet in a little bit to make it more comfortable. And have a few breaths in your dog pose, seeing how it feels. From dog pose, we're going to walk our hands in towards our feet so we come into a forward bend. Once you're in your forward bend, you want to feel all of the weights in your feet. You let your head go, you let your arms go. And then from here, you're going to start to move down through a squat. Now, it doesn't matter if your heels come up because we're going to roll forwards through the tops of our feet, through the underside of our toes. So come down through your squat and then let yourself roll forwards onto your knees and come back onto hands and knees and lengthen each leg out behind you, tucking your toes under one at a time. Knees on the floor, you've tucked both lots of toes under, and start to walk your hands in towards your knees. And oh yes, we're coming to this favourite one where we sit back over our heels with our toes tucked under for a breath or two. And let the shoulders drop. So maybe you're very good and you do this in your practice every day, but I know that I don't. So just another breath or so here. And then we'll come on to something a little bit nicer. We'll come back onto hands and knees. We'll drum the feet. Drum the feet on the floor. Quite nice. And then once more, lengthen each leg out behind you. And then back onto hands and knees, tucking your toes under. So from here, we're going to round our back to the ceiling, rock the hips back over the heels. And then you're going to walk your hands forwards a little bit. So we make ourselves into a slightly longer child pose. So you can touch your forehead to the ground, but keep your elbows off the ground. And then from here, keeping your back rounded, you're going to start to travel forwards into face up dog. So you're rounding your back to the ceiling, you're traveling forwards until your shoulders are over your wrists, and then you can untuck your toes. You can let your gaze come forwards. You can see how your face up dog pose feels for a breath or two. And then from there, folding back into child pose. And from child pose, we'll come on into kneeling. And this is the last pose in this little sequence. So we'll come into kneeling and we'll do a little bit of a kneeling twist here. So turning one way and then turning the other. Okay, so we're going to do all of that again. So I'm not expecting you to remember any of it. So we're going to come back. Our starting point is plank pose again. So on hands and knees towards the front of your mat. Nice after the kneeling to lengthen one leg back behind you, add the other leg in, coming into your lovely plank pose. Your gaze should be sort of just ahead of your fingertips to keep your head in line with the rest of your spine. And then from plank, as you exhale, send your pelvis up and back into dog. You could enjoy the long dog pose, or you could walk your feet in a little bit to make it a more comfortable dog pose if you prefer. Couple of breaths in dog, and then walking your hands into your feet. So you end up in your forward bend. Make sure your feet are hip width apart and parallel. All of the weights in your feet, let your head and arms and spine tumble forwards. And then starting to bend your knees down into your squat, not worrying if your heels come up, that's fine. Because again, we're going to roll through onto the knees, come onto hands and knees, and then lengthen each leg out behind us in turn. Yes, we are going to do that one, Rosie, in a moment, that delightful sitting with our toes tucked under. So hands and knees will lengthen each leg out, then we'll tuck the toes, and we'll see if it feels any less unpleasant on second time coming to this one. Can we enjoy it anymore? Probably not. Dropping the shoulders, smiling, all of these things. Good, very well done. And then come onto hands and knees, untuck your toes, drum your feet on the floor. Lengthening each leg out in turn. So I just think these movements where we bend one knee, we bend our knees and then we straighten our knees, they're just really good for, I find them so good for my knees. My knees can be a bit creaky. Okay, then hands and knees, tucking the toes under. We're going to be rounding our back to the ceiling, rocking our hips back over our heels. walking the hands a little bit further forwards, maybe touching the forehead to the floor for a moment, letting a breath come in. And then as we exhale, starting to travel forwards with a rounded back, looking at our pelvis as we come into face up dog. Good. All the way into your face up dog, bringing your gaze forwards. Lovely. And then from face up dog, folding back into child pose. And you could have a couple of extra breaths here if you like. It's child pose and then kneeling. So if you're happier in kneeling, you don't need to stay longer in child. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Good. And then whenever you want to, coming into kneeling, coming to your kneeling twist. Turning one way for a few breaths, the front hand rests on the opposite thigh. Try and let the shoulders drop. Turning the other way for a few breaths, again letting the shoulders drop, letting particularly that front elbow be heavy and relaxed. Lovely. So we're going to be coming up into standing through dog pose and a forward bend. And I thought you could have a little play around with your one-legged dog poses. Might be quite nice to do now, and it will take us into some of what we're doing in standing. So from hands and knees, once one more time, tucking your toes under, rocking your hips back and then up. So coming into a normal dog pose first of all, nice planted hands. And then you can just have a little bit of a play around with how does it feel to take one leg off the ground. And then particularly, if that feels okay, how does it feel to then let your pelvis roll so that raised leg hip is rolling up towards the ceiling? And it might be that you bend that top knee if you like, yes, and then you let the foot hang down behind you. You don't have to do any of these, but yes, just sort of see what feels nice. I like that top leg being long and straight and just reaching, that's it, Jan, really reaching into that top heel and feeling that length all the way down through the side of the body. Oh, it's lovely Atticus under Rosie, looks so sweet. Good, and obviously both sides of your one-legged dog pose. And Ruth, if it feels a bit much, don't do it, just do a normal dog pose. Beautiful, it's very nice. Those silver leggings, Rosie, it's fantastic. And when you've done your one-leg dog pose on both sides, then come into a forward bend. And again, just have a few breaths in your forward bend. How does it feel? So forward bend can feel a lovely place to be. Not always, but the more we get settled into our heels, the more we can feel quite happy and planted here. Head and arms heavy. Heavy but light at the same time. And of course, whenever you're ready, rolling up into standing. Good, so I was just checking, I'm shocked at myself that I'm dead on time at the moment, so something's probably going to go wrong. In standing, let's just do this loose, easy swinging twist, and then we're going to come back to a bit of kapala bhati in a moment. Just, yeah, let the arms be nice and loose and free. So we had a lot of focus last week, I think, last week around the shoulders, but I think it was last week, the shoulders. Good. We've got less of that focus this week, but doing this, just touching it in with how do your shoulders feel? Can we use this movement to help ease out any tension or some of the tension that may be there? Okay, once or twice more. And then letting that go. Let's settle in standing. Let's come to our kapala bhati breathing. one more time. So having a look at your feet and then maybe bringing one hand or both hands onto your belly. You can do a little bit of swaying from side to side, maybe with the eyes closed or the eyes open. And really gathering our awareness into our belly. So this was a major focus of our class last week. And not so much of a focus tonight, but it's still helpful to come back to it, this sense of the belly as one of the centers of ourselves. So let's settle our weight down evenly as possible over both footprints. And let's try 2 sets of 5 kapalabhati breaths. So 5 kapalabhati breaths, the 4th one's a long one, and we'll do that twice. So let a breath come in. Have a couple of normal breaths. Maybe close your eyes if you didn't for the last one and see how it feels with your eyes closed. Letting the breath come in. And releasing your arms. Kapalabhati can be quite helpful, feeling that we really root down from the waist down. And then let's take the arms up and just do a little bit of our reaching up through one arm and then the other. Shifting our weight into one foot. So as we reach, we shift our weight into that leg. So that side of the body really lengthens out. And of course, you can play around with this. You might want to try reaching into the other arm. Or you might be so programmed like I am to always go the same way from side to side. And then from here, we're going to sweep down into another forward bend and just see how that feels. Letting the arms come forwards. If in your forward bend you want to do those weeping willow movements, sweeping your arms from side to side, you can do. Of course, in your forward bend, you can rest your elbows on your thighs. I haven't said that this evening, but if your lower back needs that, please do that. And then whenever you're ready, it might be nice just to have a breath or two in the center. And then whenever you're ready, sinking into your heels, rolling up into standing. And so we're going to come to a little bit of preparation for standing balance. What we're going to do first of all is if you bring your hands to your pelvis, you're going to bring your right foot forwards a little bit. And we're going to come to this foot tapping movement, where we tap our foot in a little bit of a quarter, a third of a circle. I'm doing a lot of fractions during lockdown with my younger daughter. So a third of a circle to the right and to the left. Okay, so what we're trying to do is feel, we're going to come to a different movement, feel how we can leave the pelvis behind. So come onto the ball of your foot now. How we can leave the pelvis steady and move this leg, this right leg in the hip joint, which is apparently fairly unique movement to humans. Animals don't do this movement apart from a few primates. This is what my husband was telling me earlier today. So yeah, quite unique in the human body. And from here, from this movement where our knees coming out to the side but our pelvis is facing forwards, we're going to come on into tree pose. So you can bring your foot wherever you like on your standing leg, on the inside of your standing leg. Just sort of whatever's going to work for you this evening. And then gathering your hands into prayer pose at your breastbone. And just seeing how does it feel to settle in your tree pose this evening. Your shoulders drop and soften. If you feel steady, you could then let your arms grow up. It's helpful, like we did last week, to have that sense of the awareness at the pelvis, at the belly. And you can do that. I found that quite helpful myself this week, particularly if I'm feeling unsteady, to bring my awareness away from my standing foot and to the belly as the center. The hands can come back to prayer pose. Maybe can have another breath or two or three. Very nice, yes. Coming down, having a little bit of a shake out. And then, yeah, when you've given yourself enough of a shake out, settle back down. Let's just feel ourselves in standing for a moment. So settle back down, feet hip width apart and parallel. Feel it closing your eyes, a little bit of swaying from side to side. Seeing if you can really feel yourself, sense yourself, feel your body in standing. And then opening our eyes, we're going to take our weight, hands onto our hips, take our weight onto our right foot, and we're going to come back to this foot tapping in a third of a circle. Yeah, a little bit of foot tapping. So again, we're trying to find this side, this movement of the leg in the hip joint with the pelvis staying settled. Come onto the ball of your foot. Do that same movement, that rotating on the ball of your foot. And then when your knee turns out to the side and your pelvis stays facing forwards, you can bring your foot on into tree pose. And gather your hands into prayer pose in front of your chest. And again, wherever it's helpful for you to bring your awareness. Could be to your breathing, could be to the contact of the hands, could be to the belly. When I bring my arms up, I often like to have that feeling of letting my awareness travel all the way from my fingertips down to my heel. Shoulders quiet, soft. The hands can gather back into prayer pose. And we have a few more quiet breaths, settling at the center. Awareness in the belly or at the breastbone. Good. Very well done. Come down, have a little bit of a shake out. So we're going to come into another forward bend, but with our feet wider. So the feet are going to be as wide now as the narrow edge of your mat. So settle your feet down so they're still parallel, and then you're going to fold forwards and see how it feels to come forwards with the feet a bit wider apart. And then you're going to have a little play around with those movements where we bend one knee at a time. Yeah. So I think when we do these ones, I say that, you can bend one knee by swinging your pelvis from side to side. Ruth, you might not want to do too much pelvis swinging this evening. That's it. And you can also bend your knee by doing a smaller movement where you just let the on the bent knee side, the pelvis just tilts, just tips towards that side. Just, yeah, how does it feel? And also notice, how do your knees feel? My knees can get a bit grumbly sometimes with this bending in these sort of feet wider apart positions. And then just settle in the centre. Let your head go, let your arms go. Let a breath come in and then roll up into standing. So we're going to come back down into a forward bend in a moment, but before we do, let's come on into some of these side lengthening movements here where we have one arm up and the other arm down. So the bottom arm, the arm that's hanging down, really let it hang. And again, you can shift your weight into the raised arm side if you like. And it's really up to you when you do these. You can move from side to side, or you could stay here for a cycle of breath. Okay, maybe just once more on each side, and then I'll show you where we're going to go with the forward bend we were just doing, which probably most of you don't know where we're going. Okay. So have a little bit of shake out. And I'm just going to remind you, so we're going to be doing this twist with our feet. So my feet again are as wide as the narrow edge of my mat. I'm going to come forwards. I'm going to be bending one knee. My fingertips stay on the floor in the center between my feet. And I'm turning away from the bent knee. Yeah. And I bend the other knee. My hands on my pelvis. I'm rotating away from the bent knee. And then maybe the arm comes up. And yeah, this can feel really helpful in the upper back. So remember, feet as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And you're turning away from the bent knee. Fingertips on the floor. Look for that rotation, very nice, with your hand on the back of your pelvis. And then the last thing that happens is the arm goes up towards the ceiling. I like to be quite light on my fingertips in this one because you want your weight to stay well in your heels, yeah? So Maria, just make sure you've not got too much weight in your hand. I can't quite see side on what it's like in your heels, but just double check. Very nice, lovely, everyone, good. So do this maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 times to each side. And just we're noticing, what do we feel in the upper back between the shoulder blades? Yeah, that's it, that sort of upper part of the rib cage, very nice. And you can, of course, flop forwards in the center when you've done as much as you like on each side. Good. And of course, you can also come back up into standing. Or you can have a little sit down on the sofa, Jan. So pleased to see it. Yes. Are you a bit hot? Press your space bar, Jan.
No, I haven't got a space bar.
Oh, okay. Are you all right, lovely? Are you having a little sit down?
Well, I think I've got a cold. I had a really sore throat. I'm really struggling. I'm very bunged up and I feel very wobbly and I don't feel very well actually at all.
Okay, we'll see how you go. You might want to just stop if you're not feeling great. So
yeah, especially the down movements.
Okay, well, yeah, we're doing a little bit more with that, then we're stopping the downward ones. So,
yeah, sorry, I'm not 100%. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, if you want to sit out the next thing, you could sit and do some wide leg sitting and then join us in some more.
Well, hopefully it's only a cold and it's not COVID.
Yes, yes, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is, yes, maybe have a little watch. We are going to be coming forwards, I'm afraid, Jan, so I hope this will be okay. So the first thing you're going to do, it's got a lot darker, isn't it, is from a forward bend. This is with your feet hip width apart. We're going to come forwards. You might need to have some books under your fingertips. I think most of you can probably reach your fingertips to the floor. I want you to see what's it like to take one leg back and then to play around with rolling. Yeah, rolling the pelvis. And you could have your back leg bent for this, or you could have it long. So this is as far as I want you to go on each side. Just this movement of the pelvis is level, then I'm rolling the raised leg hip up towards the ceiling with a bent or a straight leg. And doing a bit of that on each side and just seeing how that feels. And remember, what's really important is your weight is in your foot. So again, that's it, Maria, good. Good. So make sure the fingers are quite a light touch. Are you okay there, Ruth? Okay. Dear Rib.
I got some water and I didn't see what you were doing.
Oh, okay, fine. I was just thinking it was your back. Right, what we were doing is forward bend, taking one leg up, and then this rolling the pelvis, yeah? Either with that back leg bent or with the back leg straight. So I don't know. Yeah, see what it's like for your back. And Jan, if you're thinking it's a bit much with your head down, then maybe just sit and do a bit of this one. Sit with have your back against the sofa. You could do a bit of this one. We haven't got that much more standing we're doing. Lovely. So if you're doing the forward bend, lifting one leg, you're doing that on both sides. So I would hope you're onto side 2 now. And if you've finished completely. I will show you what we're going to do. That's, yes, exactly, Emma. So that is where we're going. So obviously you've probably all realised, you might have been raring to go, where we're going from here is towards our half moon pose. So we would be rolling that raised leg hip upwards and straightening that top leg out. And then this arm, it could come onto the back of your pelvis, or it might be that you want to try taking that arm up towards the ceiling completely. So yeah, if you feel that you want to go on to that one. Ruth, I would say you want to be careful not to jar yourself. Yeah, so I think for you, I think you need to keep your fingers on the floor. Yeah, and you might not even want to lift a leg. Okay, that's very nice. Yes, and if you've got a wall, space, you could always do this against a wall. That's it. So your starting point is with both lots of fingers on the ground. Very nice. And then taking the hand off the ground is always that's the tricky bit. So yeah, that's it, Emma. And sometimes it is nice to just take the arm straight up to the ceiling rather than go to that, bring it onto your pelvis. And it just might be, I've got Shimmer Star has decided to join us now. I think, hello, Shimmer Star. Very nice, lovely. Yes. Good. That's it, Maria. Yes, exactly. So those fingers that when you've got one hand on the floor, those fingers then become lighter and lighter, and they might even lift off completely for a moment or two. Yes. And then exactly that, Rosie. We will all be following you into a squat in a moment. Good. So if you've done both sides, I don't know if you have done both sides, so you might not have done both sides of your half moon pose. So if you haven't, do move on to side 2. And then what Rosie was doing, which is what was in the next thing in my class plan, was to go down through a forward bend. And maybe come towards the center of your mat, because we're going to go down through a forward bend, a squat, and on into cobbler pose. So Jan, you might feel that you want to join us for this, because it's not going to be any more, you know, from the cobbler pose, you could join us. So from there, in the middle of your mat, facing the long edge of your mat, coming into a forward bend, everyone apart from Jan. Seeing how that feels. You could enjoy your forward bend for a few breaths, and then yes, on into your squat. Might feel very nice after half moon pose. And yes, this would be a good squat to have something under your heels if you so wish, because you could then stay in that squat for a few breaths. And then from your squat, you're going to move on into cobbler pose. And so again, Ruth, if it's better for you to be in kneeling, you could be in kneeling. Can't quite see Ruth, looks like she might have disappeared. But yes, so coming back into cobbler pose. And yes, from cobbler pose, we're going to be moving back through pinwheel, and this time from pinwheel on into pigeon and our favourite cow legs on each side. So from cobbler pose, let's go, well, you can go either way, it doesn't matter, go one way. So let one knee come on top of the other knee. Come back into pinwheel and see how it feels. Do a little bit of circling and a little bit of settling. So how do the hips feel after the things we've done in standing? And then from pinwheel, we could have a couple of breaths in our pinwheel forward bend. Let's revisit this before we come on into pigeon pose. So folding forwards in pinwheel. Over that thigh where the knee's going out to the side. Just letting yourself settle, letting your shoulders soften, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then walking back up into pinwheel. And to come on into pigeon, you probably want to let the knee you were just folded over, let that knee come back a little bit. And then you can tuck your toes under, walk the other leg back behind you, and let your pelvis again roll over. So you come into pigeon and just see how your pigeon pose feels. So being on the elbows and the forearms is quite a good starting point in pigeon. And from there, you could go lower. You could rest your forehead on the back of your hands or possibly down on the ground. Or you could come higher. You could walk your hands in and rest onto your hands. So it's really up to you to have a little exploration in pigeon and see what feels good. Where would you like to be? And there's all the little rocking movements you could do. You could rock a bit from side to side. Or you could tuck your toes under your back leg and sort of rock yourself up and down your mat a little bit. Just see how these feel. Of course, another possibility is, if you are on your hands, to do that little twisting movement where we keep one hand in the centre and we turn to the right and to the left. And so, Ruth, I don't know how it will be coming into cow legs for you. So if it's not good, come back into kneeling. So from here, we're going to roll onto that front leg thigh, and you're going to swing your back leg around into cow legs. And you're going to have just a little bit of a wiggle. So Ruth, again, it might be that you just need to put a cushion under your bottom. And if anyone else, if anyone else feels they want a cushion under their bottom, you're very welcome to do that. And also a little bit of can we have a little wiggle and a settle in cow legs? So we're trying to sort of settle down. We can turn. So we can turn towards the top leg. We can turn away from that top leg. So just sort of see, maybe a few times turning from side to side. Does that help us have a sense of the legs and the pelvis being heavy and the upper body being light? So it's sort of turning from side to side. And at any point, if you need to come out of cow, you lean back onto your arms, you uncross your legs. If you're comfortable here, you could then just have a few breaths staying turned towards the front leg, the top leg. So see if you can work out which is your top leg. Have a look at them. It would be the turning towards the thigh that you can see the whole of the thigh. That might sound really obvious. It isn't always here. Because as we know, we're confusing ourselves. We're confusing our brain here by crossing our legs. Okay, come back to the centre, a little bit of a wiggle, very nice, and then leaning back. Slowly uncrossing the legs. Let's just take the legs long for a moment and give them a little bit of a roll. We'll do the other side, and then we'll take the legs wide. So from here, come back into cobbler pose for a moment. So you can just see how does it feel to be in cobbler pose. And then from, yes, if you want to do your rocking, if you like that, probably not you, Ruth, yeah, a little bit of rocking. And then from cobbler pose, whenever you're ready, move on to side 2 of pinwheel. So that top knee coming over and then sliding that top leg back. Just circling either arms long or giving yourself a hug. And it's up to you. You can spend a bit more time circling, and whenever you're ready, you can turn towards this knee that's going out to the side. You can fold down into your pinwheel forward bend. Seeing how you can settle down. Can the hands be on the floor? Maybe the elbows, maybe the forehead. Can we let ourselves rest down and feel heavy? And feel the breath flowing in, feel the breath flowing out. And when you're ready in your own time, walking your hands in. So we come back up into pinwheel, and then you're going to let this leg slide back a bit. And then roll over into pigeon, lengthening out the back leg. Remembering, of course, if you need to be in that sort of offside pigeon for any reason, well, the main reason would be if your knee isn't happy in pigeon. So for any reason that front knee is not happy in pigeon, let your weight come into the top of the front leg thigh. Otherwise, rolling into pigeon, coming onto your forearms to start. You can go lower, you can go higher. Can you let the shoulders settle and soften? So from being on your forearms, do you want to fold down? Do you want to bring your forehead to the back of your hands for a few breaths? Do you want to walk your hands in towards you? You could even do your little twist in pigeon if you like. So keeping one hand in the centre. Sorry, Otto has decided to quite what he's doing. He's had a drink of water and now he's rubbing himself dry on the sofa. Charming. So, yeah. So just whatever you want to do for these last couple of breaths in pigeon. It could be that little pigeon twist, or it could just be on the hands, seeing how it feels. And then we'll roll out onto the front leg hip and we'll swing the back leg around into cow legs, and we'll see how does our cow legs feel on this side. So hopefully we're on side 2 of cow legs. Good. And again, let's do this. Yeah, let's first of all just do that sort of settling. So a bit of wiggling, a bit of settling. Just really trying to be down with the pelvis. And then we can turn towards top leg and away. So these little sort of, well, it's up to you, but yes, I quite like to do this sort of from side to side, get this feeling of lightness in the upper body, heaviness in the legs and pelvis. And then when you're ready, you can stay turning towards the front leg, if you like, for a few breaths. Keeping the shoulders soft and relaxed, arms as relaxed as possible. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then untwisting, leaning back onto your hands, and we'll finish this little sitting section with just seeing how it feels to sit with the legs long and wide. So it might well be that you want to lean back onto your hands at this point. So it can turn dark. I'm just wondering if I stand up and walk nearer to the screen, it will brighten up a bit. Yes, maybe not. So yeah, leaning back onto the hands, legs long and wide. And yes, any little, that's nice, Rosie, any sort of little rocking movements you want to do here are good. I mean, there's lots of things we can do. It might be that you need to sit. Yes, that's nice, Rosie. It might be that you need to sit and take your weight back onto your arms. You can always do these side lengthening movements here, which can be quite intense. So if you are doing those, for example, I've turned to face my right leg, and then I'm folding my body down, the side of my body down over my left leg. Yeah, and my left arm's coming to the inside. So you can do these ones. I do find these quite challenging, so I wouldn't be able to stay there for long. And if you were doing the other side, you would then turn. So you're facing your left leg. And then you're trying to fold the right side of your body down over your right leg. This is a side bend. And so that right arm comes onto the inside of the right leg. Maybe the left arm comes up. Ooh. So this is very strong stretch down through the left side of the body. And it may be something that you really like or something you think, oh, no, not for me. And yes, just see if you are in these ones, and I'm just going to swing round because some of you I know really like these wide forward bends. But if you are thinking about folding forwards, you need to feel that your pelvis is coming forwards. Yeah, it's really not good for the lower back to be, the pelvis to be rolling back, and then we try and bring ourselves forwards. So yes, a couple of breaths. Good. And then from here, we're going to, so you can have a few more breaths. It does benefit, you know, being in this one for longer. You know, if you're here leaning back on your hands, we're still, our intention here is to arrive at a point where our feet, our legs blend into the floor. So we can no longer feel ourselves from the waist down. And then it all becomes very easy. I'm not quite sure what that would be. But yes, what I was going to say is from here, we're going to be coming on and sitting comfortably to do a little bit of sitting and breathing. So probably not like this. You know, you could sit, if you like having your legs long and wide, you could have them not so wide, but with your back against the wall. And that's quite a nice way to sit and breathe. But yeah, like this is a bit too much of a stretch when we're focusing on our breathing. So getting anything you need, if you need something warm on, getting a cushion, coming into kneeling, Ruth, is probably good for you. And I'm going to do a little bit of sitting and breathing before we come to lie down. So we're going to revisit some kapala bhati breathing, and then we're going to revisit some breathing we did last week. So yes, you might feel that you want to do a little bit of circling, settling, rocking. You don't have to, you might just want to be sort of quiet. So can we let the shoulders drop? Can we find a place where we can feel that we are, this sense of being heavy from the waist down? Heavy from the waist down, shoulders settling. And Kapalabhati, one of the reasons we do it, and sometimes it's really good at the beginning of sitting for breathing, is it helps this feeling of being heavy from the waist down. So we're going to do our 3 cycles of 5 Kapalabhati breaths, and with this intention that it helps the pelvis and legs to settle. So you can have your hands on your belly. If you prefer to have your hands here and your awareness in your belly, that's fine. Just to start with, close your eyes and feel a couple of cycles of breath, just a couple normal cycles of breath before we come on to the Kapalabhati. We're going to let a breath come in. We're going to do those 4 short, sharp little breaths. The 5th one is a long one. We're going to repeat that 3 times. So letting a breath come in. Let everything soften and relax in the belly area. And then we're going to do another 5. So letting another breath come in. Again, letting the belly soften and relax. And then we'll do our final 5. So let the breath come in. And then release your hands from your belly and bring your hands to rest on your thighs, palms down. And just let yourself have a couple of quiet cycles of breath. And we're going to come back to the breathing we did last week, lying down, where we're going to turn the right hand so the palm is up, rest that hand on your thigh, and then we're going to be counting our breath by bringing our thumb to our fingertip. So you're going to bring your thumb to your little fingertip and let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then you're going to touch your thumb onto your ring finger and let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. This is just in the right hand. So keep the left hand palm down, Maria. So just do the right hand, not the left hand. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then touching, this is just in the right hand, touching the right thumb to the right middle finger, letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave you. And then touching the thumb to the index finger, letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave. And then go back down through your fingers. So back to the middle finger, then the ring finger, then the little finger. And a cycle of breath, touching each finger in your own time. And then turn that hand palm down. Just have a quiet breath or two. And then let the left hand turn palm up. And we do the same thing on this side. So we touch the thumb to the little fingertip. We let a breath come in, we let a breath leave. We touch the thumb to the ring fingertip. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. We touch the thumb to the middle fingertip. We touch the thumb to the index finger pad. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. And then back down through the three fingers so you finish with the little finger. A cycle of breath for each finger. And when you've finished, turn that left hand palms down on your thighs. And you can fold forwards and touch both palms to the floor. If you want to fold forwards more, you can touch your forehead to the floor. And then you're going to lie down onto your backs. We're going to do some little twisty things, and we're going to do a little bit of breathing lying down. Just settle down onto your back. And when you arrive on your back, just to start with, lie however feels most comfortable to you. It could be with your legs long, it could be with your knees bent. We are going to move a little bit, but do have something warm to hand so that you can put it on if you need it. So maybe start by bringing your hands onto the front of your body somewhere and come back to that feeling of feeling the movement of your breath somewhere in the front of your body. I see lots of cats enjoying the lying down, which is very nice. So just feel another couple of cycles of breath moving through you. And then take your attention to your head, feeling the contact of the back of your head on the floor, and then starting to let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. Easing your head from side to side, seeing how your neck feels now. You're going to be using this movement to help find a comfortable spot on the back of your head to settle your head down. If your neck feels at all tight, you could pick up your head in your hands and gently lengthen out the back of your neck, and then place your head down onto the floor. And if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and bring your feet to stand on the floor. And with your feet standing on the floor, start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left like we did at the beginning of class, and see how this feels. And find a movement that feels comfortable, easy, enjoyable for you right now. It's nice. And then pause in the center and take your feet a bit wider, so they're as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And then come to tilting your knees side to side with your feet in this position, and see how that feels. So we're coming back, this is a bit more like pinwheel on our backs. We're coming back to feeling the movements perhaps a bit more into the hip joints. And if this is comfortable, you can let your knees stay all the way down on one side. So can the knees rock all the way down on one side? And then let your head roll in the opposite direction. And have a few breaths there, giving the weight of the knees down to the floor. And you can come back when you're ready to a little bit more rocking, and then you can do this same movement, taking your knees down to the other side. So it's nice to come back to a bit of rocking and then take the knees. And what I didn't say on the other side is that if you have a cushion to hand, you might find you want to put your cushion under one of your knees. If one of the knees feels that it's hovering a little bit, could be either the one that's coming to the middle or the one out to the side. So let the legs rest down to one side, let the head roll in the opposite direction. And just see how it feels to have a few breaths there. Heavy shoulder, so the head is rolling in the opposite direction to the knees to help that shoulder feel heavy. The knees are feeling heavy down on the floor. We let the breath come in, we let the breath leave. And in your own time, coming back to the center. The last couple of little things, you can fold your knees into your chest. You can hold around the top of your knees, do a bit of rocking. If you want to do a little bit of happy baby now, if that's, yeah, hold around the back of your thighs is really nice, Rosie, as well. Yeah, so whatever would feel sort of nice in terms of, that's it, yes. Happy baby, that's it, yes, that's nice, Maria. Wide legs, holding your toes. Yes, exactly, Jan, taking your arms and legs up to the ceiling. So really whatever your body and you and yourself would like now. It can be a little bit of rocking, it'd be a little quiet breathing with the knees folded in towards you. And also be taking the legs up to the ceiling and giving them a shake out. And then we're going to be settling down for the last few minutes, coming back to our breathing and to this opportunity to rest. And so I know myself at home, the hardest thing is to lie down and do nothing. And so that's what we're doing now. It's this chance to be heavy and quiet. So your hands can rest on the front of your body or out to the sides. You can start by gathering your awareness into your breath, and that could be because your hands are resting on the front of your body, or it could be with your awareness that you gather into feeling your breath somewhere in your body. It doesn't matter where. Wherever your breath feels most clear, that's the place to focus your attention. Feeling the breath flowing in, feeling the breath flowing out. And from this gathering in of our attention to our breathing, we can then let our attention expand outward to sensing the points of the body in contact with the ground, to sensing the skin, maybe where we can feel air on our skin. To also sensing beyond our body, beyond our skin, to the world around us, to noises, to the presence of animals and other people, sounds both near and more distant. And within ourselves as well, there be thoughts arising, perhaps feelings, bodily sensations, feelings that are more emotional. We're just letting all these things come and go and move through us as the sounds and the air move through the world around us. So in a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl 3 times. So carry on lying down. Let these sounds become part of the world around you. When we reach the end of the 3 sounds, then you can start to move. Come back round. So I'm pretty certain there was 3 sounds because I can see some people moving. So thank you. I can sometimes cannot believe that I lose track of the count of 3. So thank you, everyone. I was going to unmute people if I can, but you might have to unmute yourself. Yes, doesn't seem to be I can unmute anyone these days in Zoom.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. Thanks, Cara. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you.
You feel better, Jan? Oh, thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
For you, Jan. So.
Well, I think I caught a cold from Mariatu, who's 4.5.
Oh, okay.
Tracy said, "Oh, she's got hay fever." Well, she didn't have hay fever, and she did the massive sneezes, and I've had a sore throat, and so I think it's just a cold.
Yes.
But
Sounds like a cold. I can't believe Mariatu is 4.5, Jan. Oh my God! Sorry, I thought she was. Where does the time go? I thought she was like 18 months.
I know. There's Gemma who's 14. No.
Oh yeah, 14. Yeah, 14. 14. Yes, I know.
Thank you, Sarah. That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Too. Bye.
Like Ruth,
That was very nice. Thank you.
How am I?
Yes.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, I think my friend's right, the GP friend. I think it's bruised. I think it's the coccyx that's bruised. So
that's very painful. It does take a while to heal. So
no, it's such a stupid thing to do, but there we go. But most of that was really good. It's just lying. It's just anything that's back on that sitting bone area.
Yeah. So you can always go on your belly a bit when that's.
Yeah. So I've got some arnica cream. It's just. I'm just kicking myself. I know you shouldn't, but it's just such a silly thing to do.
Yeah, but that's how it is, isn't it? Bye, Emma.
Yeah. Bye. Bye. Oh, how's things with you, Cara?
Yeah, okay. So it's been a busy day today, but
yeah.
It's,
and the children okay? So you probably can't say at the moment.
No, they're up in their bedrooms at the moment. So
yeah,
they're okay. They've just got it's just quite intense with all the homeschooling, and we're sort of carrying on in the summer, so it's not really going to stop. But
before I had the accident, I went to see, nothing to do with this, the osteopath. You know that chap Mark? You remember him?
Yes, Mark. Yes, the one in
Mark.
Oh no, not the Alexander person.
No, he's an osteopath, and he used to do yoga.
Yes, he's sort of quite short with
quite
hair.
slight.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, isn't he?
Really nice, quite alternative, quite nice.
Yeah.
And he was telling me he's got this second family.
Oh, right.
And he's got a 9-year-old son, and they found that he was really quite upset about it, that this 9-year-old boy, he said his personality completely changed just from sitting in front of the computer all the time.
Really?
And in the end, they stopped it all.
Great like that,
and in the end, they stopped it all, he said, and they just took him to the allotment, and they did educational things on the allotment, and he just said his personality completely changed.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
He was aggressive and depressed.
No, I mean, I've been doing a lot of just my own stuff with Mary, so not, she does some touch typing and some stuff on screen, but a lot of it isn't, because it's not good.
Yeah, and this chap was saying he felt that the school was he'd written to the school as well, and he thought they could perhaps have made a bit more effort to do everything that wasn't online all the time.
Yeah. It's really difficult though, I think, isn't it? Because I just think, how do they get to people? But maybe.
I just think it's really, they're struggling as well, aren't they? The teachers.
I think this is it. It's such an unprecedented thing for everyone, but it sounds like he did the right thing, didn't he? Just
Yeah, I was surprised because he's quite a right on sort of character, and I hadn't seen him for a long time. But you could tell he was really upset about this.
Really? Yeah. Well, I think it is really upsetting when you think, oh my goodness, what's doing to my child. So
anyway, thank you. That was really nice. It is annoying because I feel a bit restricted, but it did manage to manage to still stretch quite a lot, which was lovely.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. And you won't be cycling. Will you be cycling at the weekend, Ruth? No.
I'm not. I'm really. I do think I just keep going. I'm not very good at pacing myself, as you know. And
I can be the same. So I do.
And I just didn't take a break. I haven't really taken a break because it's like, well, you're at home, just keep going.
Yeah.
And I took a couple of days off and went and visited. Well, I cycled. It's quite a lot of cycling. And went out into the countryside, and these friends have got a hut in the woods.
Oh, nice.
And just be with different people. I mean, so I was outside all the time and, having a laugh, and they're very bright and interesting, and being right in the woods like that.
Oh, lovely. Sounds really nice.
It was really nice. I just thought I haven't taken enough breaks. And I think I did that stupid accent, so I'm just rushing around and...
Yeah.
It's just, I think you think, oh, I'm at home, it's not quite the same, it's less stressful. I just think it's that, because we can't take normal breaks because we're not going away.
Yeah.
I just sort of thought, oh, I might as well just keep going, you know.
Yeah, I think that's very easy to do that, isn't it? I think, and I feel a bit like wow, yeah.
Anyway, thank you. I love you and leave you. That was really lovely.
Right, lots of love, Ruth.
Yeah, thanks for your care. That was very much appreciated.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.